You wake up, you check your phone, you answer a few messages. Someone texts you a meme, and you send back a laughing emoji. You get dressed, look in the mirror, and say to yourself, okay, let's do this. And then you walk out the door and perform the most exhausting role of your life, the role of someone who is fine. You laugh at the right moments, you ask people how they're doing, you show up, you function. From the outside, you look like someone who has it together, maybe even someone others envy. But there's something no one sees, this quiet, heavy feeling that lives just beneath the surface. Not loud enough to be called sadness, not dramatic enough to feel like a crisis, just empty, numb, like you're watching your own life through a foggy window. And the worst part, you can't even explain it, because nothing is technically wrong. So you keep smiling, and you keep going, and you keep telling yourself, maybe tomorrow I'll feel something real. If any part of that felt familiar, stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you changed the way I understand the human mind, and it might change the way you understand yourself. Let's talk about something called high functioning depression. Now, most people have a very specific image in their mind when they hear the word depression. Someone who can't get out of bed, someone who has stopped eating, stopped talking, stopped living. And yes, that is depression. But it's only one face of it. High functioning depression is the version that wears a mask so convincing, even the person wearing it forgets it's there. Psychologists sometimes refer to it as dysthymia, or persistent depressive disorder. It's a low grade, chronic form of depression that doesn't knock you off your feet. It just quietly drains you. Day after day, month after month, sometimes year after year. You still go to work. You still maintain relationships. You still hit your deadlines and attend the birthday parties and post the occasional photo that gets 100 likes. But inside, something is missing. A kind of aliveness that you vaguely remember having. Or maybe you're not even sure you ever had it at all. And here's what makes it so dangerous. Because you're still functioning, you never let yourself take it seriously. You think, I don't have the right to feel this way. Other people have real problems. I'm just being dramatic. Weak, ungrateful. So you push it down. You smile harder. And the mask gets heavier. Let me tell you about a woman named Sarah. Sarah was, by every external measure, doing well. She had a stable job she was good at, a small but close circle of friends, a tidy apartment, a life that, on paper, made sense. But every single morning, Sarah had to give herself a pep talk just to get out of bed. Not because she was lazy, but because the act of facing another day felt like lifting something incredibly heavy that no one else could see. She laughed with her coworkers. She gave good advice to her friends. She was the one people came to when they needed support. And she never told a single person how she actually felt. Because how do you explain that you're exhausted, but you don't know why? That you're surrounded by people, but feel completely alone? That you've forgotten what it feels like to look forward to something? Sarah didn't look depressed, so she never got help. And years passed. This is not a rare story. This is the story of millions of people walking around right now, invisible to everyone, including themselves. So, where does this come from? This is where it gets deep. And I want you to really sit with this. High functioning depression rarely appears out of nowhere. In most cases, it has roots. Long, tangled roots that reach all the way back into childhood. Think about this. When you were a child, you were a feeling machine. Every emotion was huge, immediate, and real. You cried when you were sad. You laughed with your whole body. You got angry, and you showed it. But then, something happened. Maybe the adults around you didn't know how to handle big emotions. Maybe when you cried, you were told to stop. Maybe when you got angry, you were punished. Maybe when you were scared, you were told you were being silly. So you learned. You learned that your emotions were too much, that they made people uncomfortable, that the safest thing to do was to manage them. Quietly, internally, alone. You became very good at appearing okay. And the brain, which is an extraordinary adaptation machine, rewired itself around that lesson. It learned to suppress emotional signals before they even reach the surface. It learned to keep you functional at the cost of keeping you numb. That adaptation saved you then. It helped you survive an environment that couldn't hold your full emotional truth. But you're not a child anymore, and the adaptation is still running, still suppressing, still performing. The smile that once protected you has become the prison. Here's the twist that most people never see coming. High functioning depression is often invisible to the people who have it, precisely because they are so good at coping. The very skills that make them appear strong, the resilience, the self sufficiency, the ability to keep going no matter what, are the same skills that prevent them from ever reaching out for help. There's a term in psychology called the capable person trap. The more capable you appear, the less anyone offers to help you, and the more you internalize the identity of being the strong one, the more impossible it feels to admit that you're struggling. So you keep carrying it, alone, in silence, and slowly, without realizing it, you start to lose touch with who you actually are underneath all that coping. You forget your own needs. You lose access to your own wants and preferences. You start to feel like a supporting character in your own life. Present, useful, but somehow not quite real. Does that land? Let's talk about the signs, because some of you watching this might be wondering, is this me? You feel tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Not physically exhausted, just emotionally depleted all the time. You find it hard to feel genuine excitement or pleasure. Things that used to matter to you feel flat. You have a persistent, quiet inner critic. A voice that tells you you're not doing enough, not being enough, not enough. You're highly attuned to other people's emotions, but disconnected from your own. You function well, sometimes brilliantly, but it feels like running on empty. Like you're driving a car that's almost out of fuel, but you keep going because stopping feels more dangerous than crashing. You feel guilty for feeling this way, because your life is fine, because others have it worse, because you should be grateful. That guilt, that's one of the heaviest symptoms. And it's also one of the most common reasons people with high functioning depression never seek help. So, what do? First, you stop demanding a dramatic breakdown before you allow yourself to take your pain seriously. You don't need to hit rock bottom to deserve support. You don't need to stop functioning to admit that something is wrong. The quiet ache is real. The numbness is real. The exhaustion is real. Second, you start getting curious about the mask, not tearing it off violently, just getting curious. When you say, I'm fine, pause for a second. Ask yourself, am I? What am I actually feeling right now, underneath the performance? This small act of internal honesty is more powerful than it sounds. It begins to rebuild the connection between you and your own inner life, a connection that may have been severed a very long time ago. Third, and this is the one that matters most, you let someone in. Not everyone. Not all at once. Just one person. One honest conversation where you say, I'm not actually okay. I've been struggling for a while, and I haven't been able to say it out loud. That moment of vulnerability, terrifying as it feels, is often the first real breath someone with high functioning depression has taken in years. Here's what I want you to take away from this. The fact that you are functioning is not evidence that you are fine. The fact that you are smiling is not evidence that you are happy. And the fact that you have been carrying this quietly for so long is not evidence that you are strong. It's evidence that you have been alone with something you were never meant to carry alone. You learned to hide. You learned to cope. You learned to perform. But somewhere underneath all of that, there is a version of you that is still waiting, still hoping that someone will look past the smile and ask, "No, really, how are you?" Maybe that person starts with you. Maybe the most important question you can ask yourself today is not, "How do I fix this?" but simply, "What am I actually feeling right now?" Sit with that. And if this video reached something inside you that you haven't let yourself acknowledge in a long time, that's not a coincidence. That's the part of you that's still fighting to be seen. Don't silence it again.